Thank you.
Let's talk about your Away From Home Fest.
Let's do
This
that.
festival that you started, you're in charge of, you build, you take to different places. What are we looking at next?
I don't know. We're kind of working out at the moment. At some point, I'll definitely bring it over to America. It's just, will it be next year? I don't know. I don't know. My mission for next year's festival is just to try and make it feel even bigger than the last one. This year's festival felt massive, to be fair. So it's just about if I can do it over 2 days or build up a longer kind of lineup so the day feels longer. Anything like that will be a bonus.
When you're starting to think about locations or the lineup, how are you taking? Do you have a notes app? You're like, maybe that'd be cool to have this artist on it or this place, or is it just something in the back of your head at all times?
A bit of both. Over the year, when I was putting the lineup together for this year, there might be a couple of bands that I've heard along the way that I'll make notes of. Yeah. In terms of location, just want somewhere that looks really cool, really interesting. Because that's the thing with this festival, we'll move it about. So where it'll be next year, I've got no idea, but hopefully somewhere nice and sunny.
Somewhere sunny, somewhere beautiful. You're a songwriter, you're core. And I want to make sure I got this right, but you were planning on being a songwriter, pursuing that before X Factor and all of that.
Potentially, I didn't know what else to do, really.
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking about doing a solo career, so I was just like, I write a lot of songs, I might as well give that a go.
With all those ideas and those songs that you wrote down, is there anything still percolating? Maybe you've developed over the years?
Yeah, I don't think so. I have difficulty once I've written a song and maybe it's not been chosen for an album or I haven't pitched it out. It's kind of like a moment in time, so I kind of leave it there. There may well have been something I wrote in the early process that could still be good, but I feel like I've evolved quite a lot as a writer since then.
Yeah,
there'll be time for that at some point, but at the moment, this is full on. You know what I mean?
So when you're sitting with an album, right, you're playing it back, you're giving yourself notes, you're like, okay, I want to tweak this track, or maybe I've listened to it all the way through, and let's flip the order a little bit. How long does it take you before you can just sit with it? Before, this is my album, I'm not changing it again?
In terms of how long it takes, I suppose that's different.
I guess what's the cue, or what's going through your head?
You can get to in terms of being fully happy with each song on the record, you can get to 95%, and then you could spend forever trying to find that extra 5%. So at some point, because we're all perfectionists as songwriters, so at some point you kind of just have to let it go, because otherwise there's always room to change a lyric or change a sound or whatever. So at some point you just got to kind of trust your gut and go with what you got.
And you work with a lot of cool people, Jamie Hartman, who you worked with on Walls and whatnot. I think you said he was one of the first songwriters to trust you and trust your instinct. Let's shout out some people that you worked with on this album, this record.
Oh, I've got a shit memory, right? So Theo Hutchcraft from Hertz, he was a great person to work with. Rob Harvey, he wrote on Bigger Than Me. Red Triangle, Joe Cross plays in the Cortinas. That was fun. Yeah. Never-ending list, and I'm inevitably going to forget someone. So soz. Well,
then let's talk a little bit more about that songwriter room or that writing room, right? What is there anything specific you need from a mindset capacity when you're going into write, or is it just never-ending? It's just a constant script.
Well, one thing that I tried to do a little bit different this time round, if let's say I was going to the studio tomorrow and, you turn up at midday and you've got the studio booked until 7, let's say, it all of a sudden feels like work, and it kind of changes the creative feel. So sometimes if you go on a writing camp, you might be staying for 2-3 days in a house, and it means that you can write freely and when you want to. So because of that, it means, or at least through my experience, the writing feels more authentic because you're not kind of searching for it and you need to find the song in these 6 hours. Do you know what I mean? You've got time to really kind of develop those thoughts.
Do you have a preference on a place that you like to write?
I've done pretty much all my writing between England and LA. I do love writing in England. It's just weather shit a lot of the time.
I was just there on Tuesday, so I can...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I literally just got
nice.
back. I was there for the Queen's funeral and all of that, and it was a wild moment to be there for. But
wow.
Yeah, I mean, she lived an amazing life, guys, and it was a really significant thing to be there for, but I'm sure. Okay, so we're writing. We have the songwriting. We know we're in London, or the UK. We know we're in LA for that. Thinking about this new album, Faith in the future.
Getting high on the amber wave, going deep for the ones who do the same. Air Maxes or silver tongues, settling for another heavy one.
Is there anything on it, words, lyrics that you go, I can't wait for the public to have that, for my fans to have this, for it to become theirs?
To be honest, it's when I think about those moments of excitement of people hearing, you know, what I've had to listen to for the last however long, 12 months. It's about those live moments. This album was written very much with the tour in mind.
Which is unique. Sometimes that's not always the case.
Yeah, well, it's my favourite part of the job. In my opinion, it's the best way to hear music. You know, sure. Those experiences are priceless. So this record was very much written with the live sounds in mind. So I'm most excited just to tour this album because there wasn't a load of tempo on
So
walls.
we are touring this album.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, I'm not releasing it for nothing.
It's exciting. I cut you off a little bit. You said with walls, that wasn't exactly the mindset, or...
Yeah, I pretty much finished, yeah.
Louis Tomlinson, man, thank you for taking the time. We're going to bring you back on in a second, but we get a chance to hear a few songs off this album now. Anything that people should know before they hear this?
I don't know, make your own opinions. I'll see you in a bit.